The day will consist of alternating between sitting and walking meditation. And the point of practice is to keep awareness in the present moment continuous. So if we practice continuously, and this doesn't mean the mind doesn't wander, but it does mean that we don't just go, oh, forget it, I'm going to think about other things or plan my life or do whatever. Not putting down the intention to practice, then staying in the present moment, the mind gets quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter. And then if you leave it for a while, it's like you go back up some levels. So the continuation of practice, alternating, if we were just to sit, our bodies would not like that very much. So it's both physiological and for our minds, a mental practice to also do walking meditation. So where you're moving and then staying in the present moment. We anchor our attention in the present moment in sitting meditation with what? What? Yeah, the breath, exactly. Yeah. So we anchor our attention. Breath isn't important so much in mindfulness practice, but it's arising in the present moment. And so we take it as just a place to rest our attention. Our minds can only be in one sense door at a time. If your mind is aware and fully watching the breathing process, then you can't actually be thinking negative thoughts or any other kinds of thoughts at the same time. You actually can't see, attention full on your vision and hearing at the same time. It appears that way because our consciousness moves very, very fast. The Buddha said 17 trillion mind moments in an instant. He counted. Uh, I haven't been able to count that high yet. But it's not hard to see when your mind gets concentrated and still that when your attention is one place, it cannot be another. Why do we feel calm? Have you had the experience of feeling calm after a meditation practice? Who has had that experience? Okay, yeah. Why do we feel calm after meditation practice? It's precisely because we have removed the attention away from what is normal human mind activity. If you're to observe and reflect in your own experience, what does your mind do all day long in the car, at work, falling asleep at night? Think, yeah, think, 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 think. Papancha is the Pali word for it, proliferate. How much of those thoughts do you think, in your own experience, there's no right or wrong answer, are necessary thoughts? When we start to study the mind, which is what we're doing, understanding the mind this weekend, we see just how many thoughts, and we see the weight of thinking, the energy it takes to actually think about things unnecessarily. How much, in just your own experience, no right or wrong answer, of the mind goes to negative places? First, let's define negative. What's a negative place of mind, do you think? So perfectly defined, yes. And then perfectly defined. And then specifically, what state of mind doesn't serve you? Judging, great. Anybody do that ever? Judge? Yeah. Go ahead. Clinging, yeah, exactly. Worry, do you ever do that? Yeah. Self-hatred, do you ever do that? Remorse, ruminating over mistakes in the past, do you ever do that? Anticipating a negative outcome, something, fear. Ruminating over the faults of others, have you ever done that? Is it helpful? Is it useful? Does it cause pain? Does it cause pleasure? Is it onward leading or not? That is what we're studying. And it's not knowledge that we're born with in a human life. We don't come with that kind of wisdom. That kind of wisdom is cultivated. And it's cultivated by paying attention, carefully turning attention back in on the mind itself. So Anagarika Munindra said, if you want to know your mind, sit down and watch it. People talk about consciousness a lot. There's no instrument for studying consciousness. There's no scientific instrument for studying consciousness. Zero. You can't look at it in a microscope. You can't measure it in any other way. There's one way to look at the mind. How? Yeah, we sit down and watch, you said. Yeah, one zone, one zone. So first person, one zone is the only consciousness that you can see. So we're studying consciousness when we practice mindfulness meditation by bringing the attention into reality and then observing the mind as it is and everything that it does, its thoughts, its projections, its states of mind. So we will see everybody's worried about AI becoming conscious. Not possible. For those who study the mind, you know that it's not possible for a computer to make consciousness itself. It can proliferate, and it is proliferating as we speak. So in Buddhist psychology, what you see, and this isn't Buddhist psychology, it's human psychology. The Buddha just studied human mind. That's it. So it isn't, he didn't theorize about it. He observed reality as it is, which is what we'll be doing this weekend. And everybody that looks closely at the mind comes to the same, understandings, the same wisdom. So we have two aspects of the mind. There's awareness, consciousness, chitta, and then mind objects, which is thought, proliferation, and emotion. Intentionality comes from proliferation. I'm not too worried about AI becoming conscious because what drives us? What drives human proliferation? Yeah, it's something more um, deeper than that. Yes, yes, yeah. If we look closely, it's what is called craving, though it might not be a perfect, it's tana, and we desire. We desire connection. We desire needs. We're led by that. So because computers don't have sense stores, I don't know that they will proliferate. Anyways, maybe I'm wrong. I'm speculating, right? But I do know they can't get a consciousness, which is not good because it is consciousness and feeling that makes us end up having an ethical mind, a moral, the understanding that a moral being leads to the benefit of ourselves, being a moral person, being a kind person, being a loving person. That comes through having a consciousness. So if one cannot experience the negative consequences of their action through feeling, then the proliferations can get weird. We'll see how it all goes. But for us, let's just study our own mind this weekend and give ourselves a lot of space to do that. So we'll give meditation techniques. I'll do some guidance, and then I'm going to do a lot of sitting without guidance. So minimal guidance is always the way. In Burma, they don't guide at all. So that's the tradition that I come from. You get the tools of practice, and then there's great strength that comes from relying on yourself to remember. So mindfulness, sati, has within its meaning to remember. And we want to condition that wakefulness in our own mind to become self-reliant. The Buddha said, make of yourself a refuge, make of yourself a light. And I will be referring to the Buddha and the Buddha's teachings a lot. If this is new for you, I just want to kind of explain what is Buddhism for those of you in the room that know or understand what is Buddhism. Is it a religion? No. Say, who thinks it's a religion? Yeah, it's kind of put in that category, right? But it is different than other religions in that there is no belief, there is no worship, there is no system that you have to adopt. So the Buddha was like more like a scientist, and that's what the Dalai Lama calls him. That's what monks will call him. To understand the suffering and the causes of suffering, really. So the Buddha said, I teach one thing and one thing only. suffering, dukkha, which also means unsatisfactoriness, stress, and the causes of, and the end of stress. Yeah, stress and the end of stress. So it's really a psychology then, or a philosophy, or an art and science of the mind. So whenever you hear like me say the Buddha, you don't have to think of that as somebody you have to um, worship or whatever, but just a practical teacher. I mean, almost like one would a scientist, Galileo on the galaxy or whatever, Any expert in the field. He was an expert in the field of suffering, of human suffering and the consciousness. So he said it himself. Have you heard of the Kalama Sutta? The encouragement of free inquiry by the Buddha, which you don't hear in a lot of other traditions, yeah, where there's like a required belief. I have a lot of respect for it and grew up Catholic. Beautiful parts of that religion, so I'm not saying, but we were supposed to believe things. The Buddha said, don't do that, actually. Don't believe. He told the Kalamas one time, do not go upon what has been acquired by repeated hearing, nor upon tradition, nor upon rumor, nor upon scripture, nor upon surmise. I didn't know what that was, so I had to look it up. And surmise means to suppose that something is true without having evidence to confirm it. So no beliefs, no views. Don't adopt any view of belief without having evidence to confirm it. An axiom, nor upon an axiom, didn't know that either, so I had to look it up. A statement or proposition which is regarded as being established or accepted. How many views do we pick up in our life that are kind of like that? Oh, we've done it all the time, and so this is the way it is. They said it is. Nor upon a bias towards a notion that has been pondered over, nor upon specious reasoning. I had to look that up too. An argument or analysis that appears valid or convincing at first glance, but is actually based on a false premise, lies, or misinterpretation. Nor upon one's seeming ability, nor upon the consideration, this monk is our teacher, this person is our teacher. But, Kalamas, when you yourselves know these things are bad, these things are blamable, these things are censured by the wise, when undertaken and observed, most importantly, when undertaken and observed, these things lead to harm, then abandon them. So when you see for yourself anything in the mind that it's doing that leads to harm, then let it go. So laying out the teachings and then applying the tools of practice and then letting yourself see for yourself. And then he said it conversely too. Don't go upon all of these things, but when you yourself see this is onward leading, this when undertaken leads to benefit and pleasure, then live and abide in it. So how do we come to see those things? How do we gain wisdom? Is through this very practice, which sustains attention in the present moment. So sometimes we think when we meditate that we're supposed to have certain experiences, that we're supposed to feel calm, that we're supposed to like be in a bliss state or something. When you're practicing mindfulness meditation, it's like going on a quest. Now think about a long journey where you go through some peaks, up hills, have great vistas and views of beautiful, and then down into the swamps and dark places, and it turns night, and it gets painful sometimes. So pleasure and pain come as part of the mindfulness practice, but they aren't a sign of practice being good or bad or right or wrong. We want to study every human condition. And what you start to do is start to see every moment that you are experiencing right now in your life, in your practice, and then in your life is an unfolding that could not be other than it is. This moment cannot be otherwise. If you are in a state of depression, you cannot not be. If you are in a state of rage or strong desire or a state of joy. So what we do is start to make peace with our inner world and get to know it. And what we see is that things are not random. They arise out of conditions. If this happens, then this. If this does not happen, then not this. This is the study of the mind. We are operating according to laws, the law of cause and effect. For every cause we put in, there will be an effect. That law of the universe has a moral component to it, in the sense if we put in causes of kindness, of compassion, of goodwill, of morality, of non-harming of others, then it leads to, we put in that cause in the present moment, it leads to benefit for us. One of the causes that will surely and always lead to benefit is mindfulness itself. Mindfulness itself is just awareness of life when it's happening, which is now. Eckhart Tolle says there is no past, there is no future except for a thought in our mind, right? Can we experience the future? No. We can only experience now. How do we experience the future? As a thought in the present moment. How do we experience the past? As a thought in the present moment. So what mindfulness is, and a Vipassana, same thing, is bringing attention to when life is actually happening. Your direct experience in the present moment. And the way the energy of mindfulness should go is to kind of ride the wave of the present moment. You stay on top of the birds chirping, the sounds that come in, the breath that comes in and out, letting things go, letting things come and letting them go, and staying on top of the waves. That's the effort that helps our mind. What happens when we do that is I want to go back, rewind. I don't think we talked about how frequently does our mind go negative? We talked about what was negative. And then my next question was going to be, how frequently does your mind go negative? The mind. Percentage. Give me a percentage. 50. Yeah. What? 77%. Psychologists say 80. Some days it's 90, some days it's 50. But it's very regular. Think about it if it's the low end of what you guys said in here. Did anybody think it was less than that? Yeah. Think about that. And all of that negativity is consequential. So you let things ruminate in your mind. It's consequential on your heart, on your nervous system, your body, on your mental state, on your clarity of mind, on your decision making in life. But this isn't your personal problem. This is what the Buddha was pointing to when he pointed out the first noble truth of stress, of suffering. It's these obscurations of mind. We want to relate to the mind as naturally luminous. Buddha said our minds, our heart, mind. Don't think of mind in the brain. Think of mind as consciousness, which they do say resides in the heart, but don't think about that too much. If you want to think about, I lost my thought. Anyways, oh yeah, the mind is naturally luminous. So we have a natural clarity, and it's because of visiting defilement, affliction, obscurations, all translations of the word kilesa, the negativity of the mind. It's because of visitors that our luminosity gets obscured. So you want to think of yourself as naturally luminous, and the difficulties that arise, the obscurations that arise in your practice is not you. It's a visitor that's just clouding over your natural clarity. Best way to relate to yourself when you're going through this practice. Because what happens if we think, oh, my mind is so judgy? If we identify with the judging mind. Do you judge constantly all day long? No. Then how could it be you? It's not you. It's the thing that happens. Are you angry constantly? Then how is anger yours? It's just a visitor. A visitor that obscures the clarity of the mind, right? So for kindness for ourselves, and kindness will really, 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 really help your practice. And as a way of self-compassion, to not identify when we do experience the afflictions of mind. So could be, if psychologists are right, that 80% of the day today will be you observing a negative mind state. That's okay. The arisal of things that happen in your practice do not matter. What happens? What strong emotions come up? What painful experiences the body do not matter. What matters is how we relate to it. How we relate to it now is putting in a cause that will either perpetuate that mind state or heal it. And the heal it doesn't mean it goes away right away, but you put in like a drop of an elixir when you apply mindfulness to sadness or anger or worries or fears or whatever. Papancha, the proliferation of the mind is energetic, right? Our proliferation, we're like energy bodies, and that negativity comes out through us, even if we don't express it in our words or in our actions. It comes out in our thinking. We felt that. You just feel somebody's vibe when they walk in a room. So, yeah, you can tell if somebody's judging you. You can tell. It's a proliferating energy. It comes off of you. What proliferates off of from a mindfulness moment is peace. So that's the energy that you're putting into the world when you practice mindfulness. So I started to go, and when I would really saw that, go into my mindfulness practice, like, okay, all of this stress stopping with me. And mindfulness makes that happen. It just stops right here. I endure it, stop it, and heal it, and understand it. And the process of being aware naturally grows positive states of mind, compassion, understanding, joy, energy, alertness, bliss. All of those grow in our mind just from being aware. And the negative parts of the mind recede. So we have one job when we practice. We put in the cause of being aware, and that's it. Put in the cause of being aware moment by moment. That's all you have to do. You don't have to judge yourself. You don't have to fix what arises. You don't have to plan your future. You don't have to regret the past. You don't have to, you know, judge each other or whatever else the mind will do. All these jobs. Sadhu Pandita, when we would go and practice with him, said, you have one job, to be aware. And that was always like, oh, in my life, I have many more jobs, so many more jobs. So here, just to be aware. And you put in that cause and then let the effects happen. We're not in control of the effects. We can only put in the causes. And the cause is to be aware. Be aware in a certain way, though. Be aware in a precise way. Vipassana helps us to understand exactly what the foundations of direct experience in the present moment are, laid down in a sutta called the Four Foundations of Mindfulness. So all mindfulness instructions that you hear now are rooted back in this sutta. And then Vipassana meditation is using that. So anybody know what one of the foundations of mindfulness are? No, Four Foundations of Mindfulness. Thank you, Chica. She was being shy. Few of the people that know her just being shy. Body. So aware of our body's experience. So this is the first foundation, and it's what we use, as I talked about, as the anchor in our practice. Body is nice because it doesn't leave the present moment. Our bodies never step outside of the present moment. So the breath happens inside of the body. And so when we practice mindfulness, the breath isn't so important. There's anapanasati where you only focus on the breath and you take that object as important. But in mindfulness, we take it as a resting place to protect your mind. Mindfulness is a protector from the ruminating that it will do. So you take it as little energy and then you protect it, and it energizes the mind. Because that moment that you're watching the breath, again, there's no ruminating happening. So the obscurations cannot come into your consciousness at that moment. And you do one moment like that, and they won't be consistent because the mind wanders, right? It wanders, it wanders. But all those little drops of awareness start to create that feeling of calm that you get after meditation. And that's all you have to do. Don't worry that the mind wanders. That's what it does. Most people cannot stay with one breath. 2 breaths in a row is really hard. So we take breath as the primary object, or sensations in the body is another thing. Sensations can come like at a touch point, you feel the seat in the support in the cushion or the chair, or you can feel your hands where there's coldness or warmth, softness or hardness, tingling, tension, all of that. What are the physical sensations? And we're observing the body not in the state that we want it to be, but in the state that it is. So what happens in our regular life is we have, oh, I've been like this all day and I didn't know it. With mindfulness, we start to see, oh, okay, I have a pain here. And it was actually feeding stress in my mind and I didn't know it. With mindfulness, we're like, oh, this is what the natural condition of my body is right now. And like everything in life, it's like it just wants to be seen. Have you ever been truly seen by another person without judgment? Maybe not. I mean, it's a rare experience. Truly seen without any judgment, without projection, truly understood. Very early on in my practice, I was practicing in Oakland, California with a group of people who are serious, going to Burma. Um, a lot of them were becoming monks and nuns. And I met a woman who had just come back from Burma from a 1-year retreat in silence, 3:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, meditating, sitting, and walking all day long for a year. And I had not done any such thing like that in my life at that point. I don't think I had done a retreat at all. I was very new to practice. And her gaze for me, I felt like she saw right inside of me. And that also she could see everything that I tried to hide from myself, tried to hide from the world at the time. But also that she didn't judge it at all. So it was just like I just felt deeply seen. That is what mindfulness is at its best. It's something that we have in ourselves. And so our bodies love it. You'll see, like your body just gets straightened up a little bit. Like things start to pop, tension starts to burst. Something of healing in the body and in the mind about being seen. So same with our emotional world. Body is easier to see. Our body is the first foundation of mindfulness because it's not tricky. It's always here. You want to know if you're in the present moment? Know if you're sitting. Know if you're breathing in or breathing out. Then you know you're in the present moment. So second foundation is the feeling tone of experience. And it's a word that we don't really have a good Vedana. We don't have a good English word for it, but it is just the quality of pleasant or unpleasant or neutral sensations that are with us all the time. So pleasant, unpleasant, neutral mind states, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral bodily experiences. So you can check in with that as you're practicing. We will, again, drift in and out of all of those things. Third foundation is consciousness itself, and the fourth foundations are mind objects. But how that will relate for us and the places that we'll root back to in our sitting meditation is the breath, and then watching when the mind wanders, noting in the mind wandering, and then coming back to the breath, observing wandering mind, thoughts, planning, remembering. You can be precise like that. Oh, remembering is happening. And you want to make sure that when you do that, that you don't go, don't remember. You're not supposed to remember. It's not about not supposed to, it's about seeing. Oh, remembering. And then come back to the breath. Planning. And then states of consciousness, which have to do, I'll talk more about in a talk, the 5 hindrances, the 7 factors of enlightenment. So the positive and negative mind states that we have. But you can just observe, knowing how you feel at any moment, naming it. When you're aware of a mind state, naming it is the first thing to do. Like, how do I feel right now? Worry. Okay, worry. And then where do I feel that in my body? Oh, there's tightness here. Let things come, let them go. Don't get involved in the sense of trying to change it. Just apply the pure practice of awareness to it. And then that's all you have to do. Discomfort comes and goes. It's part of practice. Know if things are unpleasant, that that's not a sign that you're doing something wrong in your practice. It's part of. So that's what the practice looks like when you're sitting, then observing, inhale and exhale. In the Burmese tradition, they use a noting technique. So I'm going to offer that to you. I've always used it. You can drop it at any time. But it's helpful because our mind is used to being very full of thoughts, concepts. And so it's helpful to insert a concept into your meditation practice. So a mental label, inhaling when you breathe in, exhaling when you breathe out, thinking when you notice you're thinking, or hearing when you know you're hearing, or naming the sensations in the body, tingling. They always use the gerund form of the word because it's a continuous process. It's not a solid thing, right? Sense doors is another place that we'll go. Sounds arise a lot. People in the room make sounds, the birds, things outside. If it ever takes your attention, then just bring the attention right there. Right now I'm hearing. This is the process of hearing. So sounds are never in the way of your practice, no matter what. Nothing is in the way of your practice, no matter what happens. It's just something to be observed, noting, hearing, and then come back into the body, inhaling, exhaling. And then, yeah, states of consciousness, naming states of consciousness and turning towards, particularly if you start to feel that sort of an unwellness in your practice, ill at ease a little bit, do turn towards your mind and see, well, what am I feeling right now? And and notice and name it and observe the qualities of that feeling and then come back to the breath after. Vitaka and vichara are two aspects of mindfulness. Vitaka means to connect the awareness to what is called, a word I don't like, object of awareness. I don't like the word object, but it is, there's no other word I haven't found of the thing that you are observing, whatever that is, the thing that you're holding in your attention. Vitaka connects to, I can see it. It's like a turning towards. I see this experience of tension arising, passing away. Vichara means to sustain. So it's very easy to be mindful, like, yeah. Yeah, I'm breathing. Yeah, I know I am. But actually you're, ruminating on other things, or the mind is doing a lot. Vichara sustains the attention to watch experience. A sound arises. Let's do it with a bell. Still going, right? Sustaining. You just sustained your attention, not sustaining the attention. You hear it as it strikes, and then what happens to it, all the way to the end. So that's the quality of mindfulness, where we more and more try to be careful and careful with our attention, that we're watching things on a very subtle level. Yeah. So that will be for sitting meditation.